If you have a tendency to pull across your shots, both on the forehand and the backhand, then I'm going to help you with that in this video by explaining what the underlying cause normally is and how you can go about addressing the problem to develop more efficient ground strokes. Hopefully you find the video helpful. If you do, it'd be great if you give me a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel before, it's much appreciated if you could do that as well. So the reason I'm making this video is because so many players struggle with pulling across their body, and I find that often the advice that they're getting from coaches doesn't necessarily make too much sense, because coaches are talking about specific aspects of the technique. Maybe they're talking about hitting with a straight arm structure, maybe they're thinking about or talking about extending through the ball on contact, and while those can be useful recommendations sometimes, it doesn't necessarily address the underlying problem. And it's really important when you're trying to improve your technique, you have to fix the underlying problem, otherwise you just end up chasing your tail and spinning your wheels. So obviously you've given your brain the task of, yes, we're going to hit this beautiful ATP forehand in that direction, and you're going to be using this beautiful inside out swing path like you see from the pros, where we're coming from in there and we're meeting the ball. But then you go to hit your shot and your brain realizes that you're way too close to the ball, so it has to pull across in order to make contact with the ball. Your brain's basically trying to solve the problem that you've given it, and that's what causes you to pull across the ball. So if you want to fix this problem, you actually have to fix your spacing issues and make sure that you're setting up further away from the ball when you're preparing for your shots. And to identify if this is the actual problem for you, very simple. Record yourself, watch it back, and then compare yourself to the pros. And what you'll see is that the pros are going to be much further away from the ball. So that's the problem that you have to fix. When it comes to fixing spacing issues, I generally recommend a three-part solution. The first part is high quality focus practice while you're out on court. A mistake that a lot of players make is they're trying to work on too many different things all in one go, and that simply doesn't work in terms of learning. Our brain can only focus on so much at any one time. So you need to focus on whatever your priority is. And here, we've identified that the priority is spacing, so that's what you have to focus on within your practice. So if I'm using a ball machine, I'm going to be thinking about setting up the right distance from the ball. If I'm rallying with a partner, I'm thinking about setting up the right distance from the ball. When I'm playing structured points, I'm thinking about setting up the right distance for the ball. And you just have to consciously think about it over and over again. That's part one. Part two is normally training and improving footwork patterns, because even if I'm doing my best to try and set up the right distance from the ball, if I don't have the ability to use different footwork patterns to make the necessary adjustments as the ball's arriving, with the best intentions in the world, our opponents, they try and make it awkward for us. Sometimes we don't have the footwork patterns to do that. So the solution there is to train them and practice them off court. All professional tennis players practice footwork patterns. All high-level juniors, all college players practice footwork patterns. But for some reason, it's really hard to get adult players to do it. But it can make a massive difference with everything you do on court, especially fixing the spacing issue, so then you're not pulling across your shots. So I'll place a couple of resources down in the description to help you with the footwork side of things, because that leads us on to the third part of the solution, which is often improving how your visual system functions. Because yes, we have to think about it during our practice. We have to do enough repetitions to develop good habits. We have to work on footwork patterns. But if you can't read the flight of the ball accurately enough, it doesn't matter how much of the other stuff you do, you're always going to have issues with spacing, you're always going to have issues with timing, and you're always going to struggle with things like pulling across your shots. The good news though is you can actually train and improve how your visual system functions. And instead of going into that in this video, I'm going to invite you to a free live neuro tennis challenge that I've got coming up pretty soon, where I'm going to be teaching you how to use brain-based training to improve your visual skills, to improve your coordination, to basically make yourself more skillful. So I'll place a link to that down in the description, or you can go to neurotennis.net/challenge to register. But hopefully what I've explained here makes sense. If you are pulling across the ball, there's an underlying reason for that. That reason is normally getting too close to it. Often players are also hitting the ball late, but you have to solve the spacing issue first. And the three-part solution is focused, deliberate practice, training your footwork patterns, and then addressing underlying skills like visual stuff, so that then you're capable of doing what you're trying to do. Any questions about any of that, leave them down in the comments section. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.